नमस्कार. आयच्या ह्या खाशेल्या अपडेटीक तुमकां सगळ्यांक येवकार. आमचे बरोबर आज खास गेस्ट आसात. ते म्हळ्यार रोझनबर्गर इंडिया प्रायवेट लिमिटेडाचे प्रेसिडेंट जयदीप रेडकर. सर, वेलकम टू द शो. सगळ्यात पहिली गजाल म्हळ्यार लेट मी स्टार्ट विथ द लॉकडावन. सो युअर इंडस्ट्री इज क्लासिफाईड एज एसेन्शियल. So I don't think you must have got a lot of lockdown time with you. But how was it, and how did you progress over the last 35 days?
In fact, the lockdown came as a surprise to all of us because we were not completely ready for it when the initial announcements were done by the Honorable Prime Minister. But having said that, I think whatever has happened has been in the interest of the entire citizens of the country. So personally for me, it was a completely humbling experience in terms of the fact that, we were restricted from movement in terms of where we could go out or how much we could meet up with others. At the same time, from a professional point of view, our industry being classified as an essential services industry, we had to start our operations, and we received the requisite permissions from the Collector South Goa to start our factory in Verna. We also received the permissions from the district magistrate in Pune to start our factory at Chakan in Pune. That was somewhere around the 15th of April.
Okay.
So with both factories opened up, we were able to meet the requirements of our customers, like the key telecom operators like Bharti Airtel, Reliance Jio, as well as Vodafone Idea, so that they could in turn meet the requirements of communication towards the country's requirements.
One major question is, although the economic situation looks very gloomy, yours is one industry, I think, where everybody is turning to because everybody was home, everybody wanted better connectivity, and I think that was the pressure on the telecom giants also to provide that connectivity, and that pressure is still there. So in spite of all this economic negativity or the downturn that we are talking about, how are you looking at the prospects of your own industry? Brighter than before, brighter than ever? How do you describe it?
Well, that's a very good question, in the sense that we had a very challenging 2019, and in fact the entire telecom sector went through that period. But having said that, the crisis has opened up the need for communication and the communication systems much more than probably what anybody in the country expected. Having been locked down at home, what has clearly come about is the value of digital systems and digital communication. Because as you might have seen, and the very fact that we are having this conversation on a digital medium, it just reinforces the value of communication on the digital medium, and to that extent, the need of connectivity, which all our customers meet, has become increasingly high. So definitely the pressure is on us, and we have done well in the month of April in terms of meeting the expectations of our customers, though we had instances where we could not meet their requirements in time. But we are trying to kind of grapple with the demands, and hopefully as we get into the month of May, we should be able to start seeing better offtake and deliveries of our equipment, so that the connectivity within the country goes up.
Now the mindset is changing. Everybody is having Zoom meetings or Skype meetings or WebEx meetings. So when this kind of shift takes place, and forget about international travel, even domestic travel is a difficulty. How do you look at the prospects for the industry, maybe in obviously in this financial year and coming few years, because unless there is a vaccine, I don't think much is going to change as far as these norms of social distancing or travel are concerned. So how do you look at the prospects of the industry?
See, different countries have responded to this crisis in different ways. Now, let's consider a few facts, that separate India from the rest of the globe. Now, India has been the only country globally to have implemented one of the strictest lockdown, with more than 1.3 billion citizens who have been indoors since the lockdown was announced, to the partial relaxation that happened on the 20th of April. Now, barring a few sporadic incidents in some parts of the country where we have seen people move out in the streets and the gatherings there, the country's lockdown has been largely successful with the way people have conducted themselves during this difficult period. Now, what this means is that people have opted to prioritize lives over livelihood, despite being disadvantaged of not having access to some of the government safety nets which the developed countries provide to their individuals and to their individual businesses. Now, what this means is we are now becoming used to different ways of doing things, and the fact that there is this health scare, and the fact that the vaccine is like about 12 months or more than 12 months away from being available in circulation. Now, the focus of most citizens will be to safeguard their health, and minimize travel, maintain social distancing at the place of work, at the place of travel, and people will probably try on their own, because largely people do care about their health, and unless circumstances are such that they are not able to maintain some of these norms or these requirements, I think people are responsible enough to maintain the requirements of social distancing.
But now we're coming,
That is the only way we have been able to control the spread of this risk in the country so far.
But now we're coming to the fag end of the lockdown, and slowly things are opening up. What will be your initial suggestions when we open up? Because it's easy to shut down everything at one time. It's very difficult to open it up, even if we call it a staggered manner or whatever manner. When you open things up, the gains that we have made over a period of last 5 weeks, they should not be lost. So what is your advice how the opening up should be done?
See, from a timing of relaxation of the lockdown, it is still unclear as to when the government should take this call. Now, the reason I'm saying this is, despite the lockdown, we being in a lockdown for more than 5 weeks, majority of the infected cases should have been detected and under treatment. Now, the figures that I'm aware of as of, I think, yesterday, I think the number of cases detected in the country are close to about 34,000 cases, of which probably more than 8,000 cases have been cured. And unfortunately, we have had close to about 1,000 fatalities during this period. So if the lockdown had been completely successful and well contained, we shouldn't have more than this 24,000 cases, active cases, what I call, which are under treatment. So as long as we are able to seal the international borders and do not allow any migration from the other side to come into the country, or to that extent, even the state borders, so that there is no migration between states, I think opening up within states shouldn't be a big risk to any to the country. Now, what is also contradictory is the fact that after we have opened up from the 20th of April, the number of cases in terms of absolute terms has gone up from more than 1,200 numbers to close to about 1,800 numbers per day. So that is a little worrying in the sense that, not clear as to where this spread is coming from. Because if 5 weeks are over, generally everybody should have, whoever had, kind of been in contact and had contracted the virus should have been out in the hospitals, seeking treatment and getting treatment. Now, after 5 weeks, if we still continue to get a case count of more than almost 2,000, close to 2,000 numbers, that is the number I think the government should really, kind of ponder and figure out how to contain those cases. Because that is what will determine whether we have been containing the cases, because now it's the time when we are talking about opening up. Now, it shouldn't so happen that there is a leakage and we are opening up after, and that is where
But can we afford a prolonged lockdown? Can we make it a lives versus livelihood or life and livelihood? So a country like ours, do you think we can afford a longer lockdown than what we have already had?
Now, this particular virus and this particular pandemic is actually has been a double-edged sword for us.
Hmm.
I mean, it has been cutting us both ways in terms of
Yeah.
lives as well as livelihood. On one side, it has, exposed the holes in the healthcare systems, and not only in India, across the globe. And at the same time, it has created holes in the incomes and the balance sheets of
Hmm.
the global citizens, global enterprises,
Hmm.
and other entities.
Hmm.
So it is a difficult choice to make, where we have more questions than answers at this point in time,
Hmm.
whether we can continue with an extended lockdown, and especially for a country like India, where we were just beginning to see some gains coming up with all the measures that the government has been taking over the last few months. We've been suddenly stopped from any form of economic activity, which has put a lot of pressure
Hmm.
in terms of the incomes that for smaller organizations and smaller businesses, as well as people who are dependent on livelihood on a daily basis. So
Hmm.
that is a very difficult question that is there before the country.
But what is the best in terms of in economic sense as well as balancing the health and economy? What is the best thing? Because we have had around 6 weeks of lockdown. Do you suggest extension of the lockdown, or do you feel that okay, this is enough, now we need to learn to live with this situation, so let's be more innovative, let's be more creative with our social distancing norms and business practices, and start doing the business, if not in the normal way, in the new normal way?
Yeah, I think 2 points that you make are very important here.
Mm.
Is to become more innovative, and more importantly, accept the new normal.
Mm.
Now, if you look at similar crises that have happened, I mean, neither you nor I or any of even the generation before us would have been
Yeah.
witness to it. Is what we have read about the Great Depression, and what
Yeah.
generally happened after the Great Depression. So I think there are a couple of things that kind of come into play here. So what actually happened post the depression in the period of probably from 30 to 1945 is there was a short-term debt where there was printing and redistribution of money.
Mm.
There was a long-term debt which was the capitalist order that came into being in 1945, and which still continues to be in place, where
Mm.
most of the international transactions are conducted in the dollar terms, almost 70% of that in dollar terms. Then we have the euro, which takes
Yeah.
about 20%, and then we have the yen and the yuan, Chinese yuan, and the pound. So these things will have its natural play. But what is also important is the innovation that will come, and the productivity growth that will come from innovation. That is how how do we accept, how
Mm.
do we adapt to the new environment, and find new ways of dealing with the situation, within the constraints that we have.
Mm.
Also important will be a play of the politics that will come into play. And,
Mm.
and what I mean by politics is in the way we conduct ourselves, both internally within the countries, as well as externally between countries.
Mm.
So all these to put together will, along with the creativity of the citizens, we will have to kind of learn to live with the new ways of doing things, find creative ways, innovative ways of doing things,
Mm.
adapt, and the adapting power of each country will decide how we cope up with the new situation that is there in front of us, which, in my opinion, will decide the pace of economic development and allow the economic growth to the newer heights from this point onwards.
The last question to you. You spoke about innovating and getting adapting to the new scenarios. So, because you are in the industry and the industry of connectivity, so do you think this is going to be the new normal? We talking on Zoom, or we talking on Skype with each other? Less travel, don't travel unless it is absolutely required. Use technology more. That's going to adversely affect probably airline, that's going to affect probably oil industry. But is that the new normal? When you look at your own industry and the connectivity side of it, uh, having the 5G or the 6G or the 7G will be the new crude oil. Is that the way you are looking at it?
I think there are a number of things, the points that you make here. Now, as far as connectivity is concerned, I mean, I'll just give you my example.
Yeah.
I generally regularly used to travel at least once a week out of Goa. Now, from the time this crisis has hit us, I think I have stopped travel almost from the month towards the end of January. So from end of January, all my meetings internally have been either through Skype or through video conferencing, because we all our locations are connected on video conference. Now, the second part is, just 2 days back, there was a report from TCS, I think, where they have mentioned that almost they are planning to have at least 70% of their workforce to operate from homes when they resume from the lockdown. Now, if this is a very, very strong statement from a company of a repute and size of TCS. So if these measures of connectivity or digital connectivity are improved, and they allow us to interact in the virtual way as it was possible in the physical realm, I'm sure companies who are already facing difficult choices at this point in time to do and expecting the demand to be pretty slow even after we resume the lockdown are going to opt for these ways to conduct business. Now, what that means for us is definitely, yes, we will see a big spurge in the demand for connectivity and digital connectivity for that matter. And if we are able to provide that, and if more and more businesses, and as you mentioned about 5G, the advancements of technology in 5G will allow better connectivity and better interaction between different dimensions of business. Now, for example, it will allow education, it will allow health consultations to happen on a real-time basis in the virtual way. So there is a distinct and a clear possibility that we will probably move in that direction.
So digital data is the new crude oil.
That is a statement the chairman of the Reliance Group of Industries made almost 3 years ago, and that is beginning to see.
I don't think he had factored a pandemic then.
To a certain extent, professionally, yes, I have been busy as I was, because as I mentioned, we had started work in the digital mode even when we were way back in January. So for me, business is as usual.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for talking to us. कारण तुमच्याकडे उलयता की एक गजाल दिसता की पर्स्पेक्टिव्स क्लियर जातात, because you guys probably would be driving the post-pandemic phase. So thank you for talking to us. We are connected with you. So I hope 1 month down the line or 2 months down the line, we will do this exercise again, so that you can provide us more insights and people also can understand what's happening to them in a much better perspective. So Jaideep Bab, thanks a lot for talking to us. Prudent, Namaskar.